Purdue gets a thrilling 79-72 win over Iowa, a game that they led for only 12 minutes, but they led when the final buzzer sounds, and that's all that matters. We will break down everything that you need to know right here on Boilers in the Stands. Welcome back to Boilers in the Stands. I'm your host, Joe Jackson. Alongside me, as always, is my co-host, Kraig Bowers. Purdue, as said in the intro, 79-72 win. It was a thriller, a game where for moments, it looked like Purdue might be out of the fight. And then Braden Smith took over. The defense intensity stepped up. And Purdue is able just to find a way to claw out a win against an Iowa team that, I think they had some bounces definitely go their way. But an Iowa team that, to me, had a very good defensive game plan, really good intensity, good energy. And like, this is a game that Purdue, like there was multiple moments where it was like Purdue might lose this one, and they end up actually winning by 7. I know free throws towards the end helped shape the lead a little bit more than probably what it actually was, but still, impressive effort. I would say really all around from all 9 guys at various moments to be able to contribute. It's an interesting one because they won, everything is going to be painted more in the rose-colored glasses, which I think is fair. There's also some, I think, legitimate criticisms and concerns from this game, but I mean, we got to definitely start with the positive. And Kraig, I'll throw it to you. And this was the loudest I've heard Mackey by far all year, I think.
Yeah, and like I said, man, if you're a basketball fan, a college basketball fan, just in general, and you didn't enjoy this one, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this was just a fun basketball game that had really, really good play on both sides of the ball from both teams at different times. And this season's been weird because obviously Purdue gets blown out in one game, but they only have that one loss. But almost all these games have felt decided going towards the end, other than maybe Memphis and the Bahamas, maybe Oakland, I guess you could say. But it didn't really feel like Purdue was threatened. And it hasn't felt like we've gotten like that sustained loud buzz from Mackey for 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes all year long. And this was an absolute gem of a college basketball game that saw some really great moments. And it was great to hear Mackey back in all its glory again, really for what felt like the first time this year.
Yeah, it was really good to have the students back for the student section. You kind of forget how impactful they are until they're gone, and then they're back, and it's just like, oh yeah, it's just a different level of loud in here. Again, for an Iowa team that, I mean, they've been to Michigan State, so they have some experience, and I think they played at Iowa State as well. So I mean, they have experience in raucous, some tough crowds. But at the same time, most of these guys are transfers up. Like most of them have never played in probably in an atmosphere like this, and maybe it probably contributes in some capacity down the stretch where Purdue is able to get going,
Yeah.
feed off the crowd. Iowa's looking flustered, and all those little things do add up. And yeah, just I mean, what an incredible second half performance of Braden Smith, and we'll talk about him more in depth, I'm sure, coming up. But like I tweeted out in the first half, I was just like, that was some of the best defense I've seen against Smith all year. Iowa really pretty aggressive hedge, playing in gaps. They had enough length and enough quickness to like really not let Braden turn the corner consistently. And in the second half, Braden was just like, I don't care. Like I'm just going to make it happen. Everybody else is going to have to follow me, and just when I pass you the ball, make it because I'm. He was fighting really hard consistently in that second half to get his looks. Like even the looks that he did get, like he had to fight really hard. Just impressive stuff from him, but impressive stuff from everybody really in that second half. Like this was a really good performance. Like just overall to see that this team, really all 9 guys, just a willingness to fight, a willingness to bounce back after getting punched in the mouth a little bit early in this game, where it looked like I said things could go south a little bit, and Purdue just was able to bounce back. You see what the experience does. I mean, even guys like CJ, Jakari, Meyer had good minutes. Benner had the back-to-back threes early. Like you can kind of go through the entire team, and we'll go through the stats in a minute. But all 9 guys score 5. 8 of the 9 score at least 5+ points. That make at least 2 field goals. Like this was a pretty balanced effort in a game where Iowa was daring everybody else to beat them. So again, there small things, especially defensively, to pick on for sure. But this is a game. I think off the bat, you just kind of have to be like, yeah, this for what the game was through 20-25 minutes. This is a very impressive win for Purdue.
Yeah, and for me, one of my big takeaways in this game really is like Purdue won this with defense. In terms of their defensive effort and defensive intensity. And you were talking about the second half. I'm just going to really hyper focus on that last 11 minutes and whatever coming out of that TV timeout because I think I sent a tweet out about that time. Like, this is gut check time. Iowa's a really high quality team, but this is your home court. And like, if Purdue's going to be a team that's going to be in serious contention for a one seed, a number one seed overall, win the Big Ten, all that, they have to take care of home court, and it has to start with defense. And Purdue comes out of that TV timeout and forces 4 turnovers in Iowa's next 5 possessions. I mean, that flipped the game to me. And I know they didn't run away with it from there, but to me, the entire tone of the game, the entire intensity of what Purdue was defensively from that point on was completely different as well. And we're gonna, I'm just gonna tip my hand a little bit. Both my player of the game and my play of the game are gonna be because of defensive reasons tonight. But to me, I thought that was absolutely huge in that stretch.
Yeah, 100%. The defense stepped up. Just the intensity, I think, across the board. And it's one of those where once they make a play or two, then the crowd gets really loud. Then once the crowd gets really loud, the players feed off of it. Um, get Iowa to finally miss like a couple 3-pointers in the second half, which is going to help. And I guess we can just call that out now. Like on the game, Tavion Banks goes 3 of 3. Cale Combs goes 4 of 5. They had made 11 combined threes coming into the night. Most of them were, or I'd say early on, a few of them were kind of just Purdue living with the shots. Banks also banked one in. So there is that too. That like, hey, Iowa definitely had some good shooting variance, and that even I think is more impressive for Purdue than to be able to fight through that, still get to what they need to, and still get done. So yeah, this just a really good win across for Purdue. Just being able to fight back. I know I've mentioned it in some post game shows like this. I know Washington cut it to 8, like they won by 8. Penn State, they won by 8, but neither of those were ever in like jeopardy of losing. This was the first time Purdue had real stress and real just like uh it was the first time it was like up in the air down the stretch since Memphis. Like that was November 20th. So almost 2 months of games where basically the game was not like the game was done or over with 5 minutes to go for the most. All right, Washington, Penn State, if you want to nitpick, sure, a little bit, but like all these games were just done. And so this is the first time Purdue has had to deal with adversity in a while. And credit to them, they were able to pull it out, able to win. And I think that's a testament to not only the experience that Braden, TKR, Fletcher have, but even guys like CJ Cox, who's in his second year and has been in big moments. CJ's won games for Purdue. Jakari Harris has been in some of these moments, and his defense really stepped up. So it goes across the board in terms of being able to step up. So, do you have anything else right off the top you want to go through? I know we can get to stats and players and all that in a sec, but one of those games, it's like you almost just need a sec to like collect thoughts and
Yeah.
just try to even figure out what to say.
I mean, I just kind of want to give a shout out to the bench in general, like right from the jump, because TK obviously goes to the bench with 2 fouls on relatively short minutes in the first half, and wasn't that much longer. Cluff, it felt like that Cluff went to the bench, and Jacobson had to come in and do some things for this team. Made himself available, caught a few alley-oop dunks. Jakari hits a 3 in this game. Other Meyer hits a 3 in this game from the corner, and the bench scored 21 points tonight. And in that first half, like Purdue needed every one of those that they got just to be able to stay close enough in this game for, the Stars to kind of take over in the second half and finish it out.
Yeah, definitely. And as I was kind of looking through these stats, I filtered just for second half only. Purdue was 16 of 22 from the floor and 14 of 16 from the free throw line. If you're down, that's a good way to try to figure things out. Is miss 6 shots the entire 20 minutes, 1.5 points per possession. So, yeah, really good stuff. Do you want to jump into some of the overall stats? What do you?
Yeah,
Where do you?
let's
Is there?
let's do
Okay.
that because there's a couple of the other things I want to highlight are going to come out and kind of those overall stats. So let's go ahead and go to those.
All right, pull those up here. Split stat. There it is. So Purdue on the game, they shoot 42%, 43% from three on just 6 of 14 attempts. Iowa 12 of 25, 48% from three. Purdue wins the rebounding 26-23, have one more offensive rebound, three fewer second chance points. Purdue wins points in the paint 32-22, maybe not quite as wide of a margin as I expected, but still Purdue wins there. As expected, only 10 combined fast break points in a game where neither team really wants to push all that much. 9 turnovers for Purdue, 13 for Iowa, with, I believe, 7 of those coming in the second half. 16 points off turnovers for Purdue, 8 for Iowa. Kraig, what stands out to you?
I mean the turnover margin. Just because if we just strictly look at the turnover margin here, Purdue finishes winning that turnover margin by 4. Neither one of these teams necessarily turned the ball over a bunch, but Purdue was able to force some in that key stretch in the second half, and they're +8 in points off turnovers. Purdue wins by 7. So, like, I mean, it's not as simple as that, but that felt like the key moment in the game. And then you go pull that stat and, force 4 more turnovers, get 8 more points off those turnovers. And you always hear Painter talking about from the Purdue side, just how important it is to take care of the ball. And I'm sure I was going to go home and, look at that stretch specifically, but also just the turnovers as a whole is one of the reasons that they lose this game. The other thing I will say is, like, this team is not a bad free throw shooting team. This team has been up and down. I feel like there's been some games where, like, only your bigs go to the free throw line and none of the guards, so the percentage looks a little bit skewed maybe or whatever, for a specific game. And quite frankly, those free throws maybe don't have quite as much focus in a blowout game as they do in tighter games. And tonight, for Purdue to go 19 of 22, 86% from the free throw line. I think TK misses the second of a 1-and-1, but it felt like we hit all of our front ends on 1-and-1s tonight. So I know a lot of fans in our comments a few games this year have really harped on that free throw percentage sticking out. So shout out to that too, because again, needed every one of those free throws tonight.
Definitely. And it was impressive down the stretch how many they seem to hit in big moments. And I mean, CJ, Lawyer, Smith, all 4 of 4, TKR knocks his. Like, it was just very good across the board. I think you kind of nailed on all the stats that I think stand out. The turnovers, some of the rebounding, just different things like that. Like, that's where this game was ultimately decided, I think. So we have a couple super chats. BK Bennett 499 Boiler up. What a team win led by Braden Smith. And for the record, I did not say go Pack Go last week. That is on me. I got mixed up. So when Braggs joined, that one's on me, BK Bennett. I apologize. That was, did not no did not mean to put extra scrutiny on you from Braggs, who was busy doing his CHGO thing tonight, and obviously with all the Bears success and continued playoff performances. So he'll be busy. Maybe he'll be here Saturday. We'll see. But regardless, David Miller 7792 with two $20 super chats. If you meant to do one,
I
it did send in twice. So just want to
He's
throw it out there.
I believe he's the one that was watching from Twitter and was asking how to do the super chats, either a show or 2 shows ago, because he put a comment in there about I owe you guys for the great conversation from the other night too, or something like that. So I think he meant to do both. Like, one for, like,
Yeah.
hey, here's for the last show that I didn't know to get onto YouTube to do the super chat and whatnot. So many thanks for that.
Yeah, and he did say yes. And he added in a comment later. I'll pull up. Kraig says, I Caslick Fisher here. Owe you for our great conversations, but this is a great win. We were a complete team tonight where other players can step up for us. What do you think?
Well, hold on. I gotta blow the screen back up again. We were a complete time tonight. Where I assume where can other players step up for us? I mean, I think we're gonna get to it eventually, Joe. But I mean, I think there was obviously some things defensively, where you would like to see some improvement still, from this Purdue team, and Joe can kind of, I think, maybe point out the specific things either from what they're doing from a process-based standpoint, or a player specifically improving from that. But I still do think, like, the curve for Jacobson and Meyer is still growing. So, like, if I'm just going to look at a couple players and say who do I think can have the most growth between here and March, I'm going to point to those two. And I thought Meyer was pretty good all around again tonight. Played in the flow of offense, took shots when it was in that natural flow of the offense. I think you saw Jacobson step up big in that first half. It wasn't always pretty. There were the 2 bunnies missed on offensive rebounds, but, like, he did enough, scored enough, rebounded enough. This has to be one of his bigger rebounding outputs on the year from tonight. So but I think we're just going to continue to see those two guys grow between now and March.
Yeah, definitely. 100. Agree with you there. So I have something pulled up on the board we can get to. I think it can kind of lead into some of the individual player breakdowns that we can get to next. But before we do, let's give a shout out actually to our sponsor. And you told me which one it was before, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember which one it is. So if you want to pull up who the sponsor
Yeah,
is.
yeah, I got it. Yes, thank you once again to our sponsors, Remington Auto Wash, and here's a little clip about them.
Hey folks, quick shout out to our new sponsor that's making it easier and shinier than ever to keep your ride looking fresh. Introducing Remington Auto Wash, your locally owned and family operated car wash located 30 minutes north of Purdue University in Remington, Indiana. Whether you're in a rush or love doing it yourself, they've got you covered. Touchless automatic bay, perfect for a fast, scratch-free clean with no brushes, no worries. Self-serve bays for the hands-on car lovers who want to wash, rinse, and shine their way. High-powered vacuums, perfect for getting your interior looking as good as the outside. Clean water, top-quality soaps, and equipment that is run by real people right here in the community. Swing by Remington Auto Wash and support a local business that cares about your car just as much as you do. Open 24 hours a day at the corner of U.S. Highway 24 and 231 in Remington, Indiana. That's Remington Auto Wash, where clean cars and local pride go hand in hand.
So thank you to our sponsor, Remington Auto Wash. Appreciate them supporting the show. So getting into a little bit of the board right here. What I want to call it is something that Purdue went to a few times down the stretch in this game, and it's going to be Ram empty Spain. And so we'll walk through the steps, but to kind of, I guess, set it up first, I mentioned the Braden. I thought it was Braden struggled in the first half, just straight up. He struggled. The Iowa pressure from a high hedge, being able to play in gaps, having enough length, like it just disrupted him in some of his angles that he normally gets to, I thought. And so down the stretch, especially in the second half, this is already a little bit after Braden's taken over, but I thought Purdue did a very good job of scheming so that way Braden can get to his spot. And then obviously from there, Braden's just incredible, like the best in the country, and is able to just get to his spots and make whatever he needed to. So pull it up here so I can speak into the mic. So the Ram screen is just a pin down into a high ball screen. So that's all that this is. That's the Ram part of this Ram empty Spain. Now it's empty corner because there's nobody right in this strong side corner. So there means there can't really be any help from here. So I'll kind of erase. That's that first part, the pin down. Basically, all this is setting up though is this high ball screen. And honestly, it was generally more down like here, where Cluff's here. And then you kind of had the Loyer here, who would then we'll get to that in a sec. So the Ram screen's the pin down. Now Braden's here. And what, like, even with Iowa in this kind of hedge, with it being them getting deeper, it wasn't the hedge wasn't able to like jump out. I mean, that's exaggerated, but like you get the point of like really being able to jump out that way. Instead, it was a little bit more like a little step out and then a little bit more horizontal. And so as Braden was able to do that, that's where once he got here, I thought he was really able to turn the corner. You saw a couple pull-ups, you saw him get downhill a bit. But what also helped is while this is happening, the Spain part is a back screen for whoever's setting the screen. So now Loyer, he set that pin down initially. He set that pin down initially for Cluff. Cluff goes and sets up the screen. Now he's setting a back screen on the Iowa defender. And so what that did is just it occupied Loyer's defender, right? So I'll kind of draw the next step here. Like if Braden's here, Cluff is kind of here off the pin down, Loyer's here. It just occupied these defenders. So now Braden had opportunities. Like if he could drive, he could drive. If he needed to, if TKR cuts, he could cut. You saw like a driving kick or just different things like that. And Purdue went to it at least, I think, 3 times down the stretch. It might have been more, where that empty corner pick and roll, just trying to occupy defenders and let Braden get into this area. Because once Braden got here with a little bit of space, that's a very good recipe for Purdue to succeed. It was just difficult in the first half for Braden to like consistently, I think, get to those spots. Second half down the stretch, they go to that more and able to generate some very, very good looks out of it. So I just thought that was a really good way for Purdue to kind of scheme open Braden in a game that I've mentioned, I know, once or twice already. Like in a game where Braden had difficulty early getting to his normal spots, but because he's obviously so incredible, and then the coaching staff so good, like they're eventually just able to get there. They're both able to get there, and just get to his spots eventually. Andy Buck 84 said both and ones ran off that play. I would have to go back and double check for sure, but I believe so. At least in the half. Did Braden have one in transition? I forget. No, he didn't make it in transition. So I
Well,
think that they
TK,
both were.
oh, go ahead.
I think both of his and ones were off of that play.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So that's kind of what I wanted to point out first, and there's maybe some other stuff we can bring up on the board in a little bit, but feel like that's going to segue, and we are going to talk about Braden Smith first, who in just the first half wasn't awesome. Definitely wasn't his best half, but in the second half he took over, ends the game 16 points on 6 of 9 shooting, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, didn't attempt a 3, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 turnovers, and 2 steals in 37 minutes of play. I've talked about Braden a good chunk already. I'll talk to him about him more, but I'll throw it to you first, Kraig, on just your thoughts on Braden.
You going into halftime, I mean, obviously he struggled in the first half, and it always seems that the teams that give Purdue and Braden specifically the most trouble are the ones that have long guards, have long wings, and Iowa does have that. They don't have a lot of size in their front court, but they do have a lot of length in their guards and wings. And I thought they did a really nice job, like you said, of kind of being in those gaps, of really high hedging on the ball screen and just making the passing lanes very, very, very tight. But you going into that first half, acknowledging that, but saying like, I can't remember the last time I've seen Braden have 2 bad halves of basketball. Like I just can't. Not since his freshman year. And they PJ always seems to make some adjustments coming out in the second half. I think Braden just gets a chance to like think back about what they're doing and where advantages might be, where to create angles. And he just came out and did it. And he did it, right from the jump really in the second half, to really get things going, and continued it all the way through. And it looked early in that second half like, okay, Braden's going to take the game over scoring. And he did for a significant period, but then he went back to creating for others also. So I thought just really, really impressive second half from Braden, and showing that resiliency and kind of taking that gut check and digging down and finding a way to make it happen.
On both sides of the ball too. Like I'm not going to say
Yep.
he was A++ defensively, but like he was the one that had to guard Sturts for a large chunk of that second half run. And similar to Braden, Sturts is so good that he is just going to Sturts is going to get his. He's just going to get his. He's so talented. But I thought Braden did a good job of at least making life difficult on him in those minutes. And like that's a heavy workload where Braden was asked to do everything offensively in a game he's hounded for 37 minutes, and then also for I don't know 15 minutes of the game, something like that. So go guard Braden Bennett Sturts as well.
Wait,
so
I didn't mean to pull that up. Go ahead.
Oh,
Go
no,
ahead.
you're good. So yeah, like I mean, we all know that people that listen to the show every game, they understand. I can just keep talking about Braden Smith forever and ever, but man, he's so good. like he is truly one of one. Unreal stuff from him in the second half of just finding a way. And this, like, I know I mentioned it earlier, but like this wasn't like the Penn State. Braden got whatever he wanted, right? It was just like, I'm going to pick whatever spot I want to get to. I'm going to get there, and I'm going to make the defense look silly. Like this wasn't that. This was, man, Iowa is playing very physical and very aggressive. I am having to do everything in my willpower to get to my spots, and still being able to do it, and still being able to succeed. One of one Braden Smith is, and that's why he's the best point guard in the country, and just simply one of the top like 3-4 players easily in the country. So I'll hold off on waxing poetic more for Braden Smith, but just that incredible second half.
I don't even know exactly who to jump to next, because like everybody else kind of had their moments, and it's pretty even keeled in terms of point spread in your other 4 starters there. So where do you want to turn it to here?
Um, let's. Oh man, you're all right. Let's go to TKR. I think let's go to him. 12 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 turnovers, and a steal. 4 or 9 or 4 or 10 from the field. One of those being a 3-point attempts. Did go 4 of 6 from the free throw line. He gets in the early foul trouble. He gets the 2 fouls and only plays 8 minutes in the first half. This is a game where early on wasn't quite in the flow, it felt like, even before he got into foul trouble. But at the same time, like, he had some really good defensive efforts in the first half that saved a few buckets early on, walling up, straight up. Um, Also, I thought like was really aggressive to start the second half. It's one of those games that this isn't going to be a game you write home about for TKR, but at the same time, I think probably played a bit better than what he's going to get recognized for. Just with some of the physicality, some of the decision making. Even I hesitate to bring this up because I don't know if it'll be a play of the game for either of us, but like he makes the with 2 minutes left, like he gets a short roll and the floater just hasn't been there. Instead of trying to force through, he just makes the right decision, makes the kick to CJ. CJ drills it in the corner. Just some of those little things really added up to me and helped, I think, overcome what was definitely a rough start of the game for him.
Yeah, and I mean, right off the back in this game, he gets that early one, um, right at the rim, gets another great look on a drop step, and then kind of smokes the layup. But after that, like I put in my notes, this is the best job TK's done at walling up on defense and not fouling. Like there was 2 different times they drove in, and he did a really, really nice job walling up and just forcing him into a tough shot and a miss. And then he, picks up a foul, and then he kind of picks up a bad foul on that second one, and never really gets to get into rhythm this game. And I think we've talked a lot about his floater this year, and more than anything, I think that's just a shot that takes being in the flow and being in rhythm, because we'd see him miss 1 or 2 of those. But when he'd get repetition of it, once he got into that rhythm, he wouldn't miss it. And I just felt like a game where he never got to get into that flow offensively, really. But again, those 3 assists I thought were huge. I thought he primarily made the right decisions in this one. Coming into this game, we talked about the fact that this might have been a chance for this to be a really big scoring output TKR game. And had he been able to stay on the floor in the first half, I still think it would have been. And if him and Cluff had been able to stay on the floor longer in the first half, I don't think this game is, Purdue having to come back late in this one.
Yeah, and I mean, I even mentioned it to you, I think, right before the second half, and it didn't really come true, but it's just like, it would be, I mean, TKR had 10 second half points, but it was just like, it'd be really nice if TKR could just get going, because it felt like at that point, Iowa was doing a good job limiting Braden. Obviously, that didn't hold. But it was just like, that's the one player where it's just like, it feels like he could get going. So, um, yeah, like I don't know. I think everybody's kind of on the same page. Like there were positive moments, there were negative moments. At the end, I think he's a overall positive contributor in this game. And like you said, I think that's a good call to just the floater is something you kind of got to get into the rhythm. He's still shooting 55% on his floaters on the year, which is a very good rate. So like it's still a good shot. It's just one of those. It's like it's like a pull up too, essentially. Like sometimes they're just gonna all be going and it looks great, and there are going to be moments where he misses a few. So that's kind of where TKR was at today. Did you have anything else?
No, I want to go to Fletcher next on this one. He finishes with 11 points, 3 of 7 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. But kind of why I want to go here, I kind of joke with you sometimes when I'm putting the stats out for the, final tweet of the game, is so many times I really can only just put like however many points Fletch have, because there isn't much else of a stat line a lot of times. But tonight, some really, really good passing, finishes with 4 assists, also gets 2 rebounds. There were a couple of times I know he kind of got taken advantage of on drives a few times defensively, but I thought in that second half, there were a couple times he made really nice plays defensively. And by far, Joe, by far, the best flop of the game, without a doubt, uh, where he draws the offensive foul. And I'm sorry, but it is a flop. And from our angle, like, you could see him like jump a little bit to leave his feet so that when he fell, the impact was even larger, to make sure he got that foul call, and really heads up play. He knew he was going to get hit, and he put himself like, you got to know that's going to hurt when you land. Like, and you're just willing to take that beating to get to the free throw line and try to get 2 cheap ones. And critical moment in the game, they couldn't not call it because of the position he put himself in, and how hard he got hit, and the fact that he was kind of set there in the way. So nice job this game from Fletch all the way around in my mind, except, obviously a couple of things defensively one-on-one, but like, we know that is what it is. Like, it is what it is. You're going to live with that because of everything else he brings to the court.
Yeah, that foul came off of the empty Spain that I talked about. So connecting all the pieces together. I don't got too much more on Fletch. Like, I thought he did a good job driving because Iowa was really trying to run him off the line. A couple of really good passes today, and like he's had. I feel like he's had a couple of those flashes this year more than previous, where it's just like, oh yeah, like I know he was never like probably recruited as a point guard, but like he was a very good high school point guard, and I'm not like he has it in him to be able to pull those things out when needed, and
Yeah.
I thought he had a couple of those today. Yeah, defensively, I thought it was a pretty poor defensive start. Honestly, like some of the rotations were slow. This is the first game in a while where they kind of just tried to pick on him. Combs got a couple floaters, but also like it's not like it's not like Sturts was just getting to the rim at will when Fletch was on him. Not saying it was good defense, but it wasn't turnstile. And sometimes that's kind of just all you need out of Fletch because, like you said, you know what he's bringing everywhere else to the floor. So now that we got through the big three, like we naturally probably are going to for most games, you want to go to Cluff?
Yeah, for sure.
Cluff, 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block. Did have a turnover as well in 22 minutes of play. 4-4 from the field, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. I'll throw it to you first, Kraig, for your thoughts on Cluff.
I thought kind of the same way with TK. There were moments in the first half where I'm like, oh, this is going to be a big Cluff game. Like, Cluff's got the advantage. We can feed him. He can just use his size and physicality. And honestly, it felt like they were calling things pretty tight on the physicality, because there's some games where we've seen him to be able to get really, really aggressive, throwing his body around, trying to rebound the ball, or make, kind of drawing some contact as he's going up for a shot. And it felt like they were calling things a little bit tight in general down low. But I thought in the second half, he was really, really good defensively. Obviously, that block's going to stand out, right? Where somebody gets beat baseline and he comes over, and he came from quite a ways out to get that dunk. Now, I think he smoked the guy with his body, but he got ball first. So I guess that's kind of the general rule of thumb, not to call it. But that leads then to Jakari, kind of forcing that call out of bounds from Iowa. And then I think Jakari maybe hits a 3 on that next play, if I remember right. Something on the other end also was really big right off of that play. But I thought Cluff was really good defensively, just in general, especially out on the perimeter. There was a couple times where he had active hands and just got his hand on the ball to kind of tip it out, slow them down, not let them get into their action. I thought it could have been an even bigger offensive game for him, but I don't know that he didn't play the normal minutes he plays in the first half either, did he?
Yeah, only 7 minutes because of foul trouble in the first half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like today was a game where this is why Cluff was brought in, right? That high hedge, like you heard kind of all off season, or maybe not all off season, but later in the off season, like the coaches just kind of be like, he can do a lot of stuff in this high hedge defense, like force guards back. And I don't think it was perfect today, but I think it was good. And it's something that Purdue hasn't necessarily always had as an option to go to. And in a game where you just wanted to not let Sturts turn the corner, that's where this kind of high hedge can go to. And like there's a couple times where I think the rotations on the backside, like Iowa did a good job at first of being able to beat it, I think. But then as the game kind of kept going and Cluff settled in, I think that's where you started to see some of the defensive prowess come through. Even in the game, he only has 4 rebounds. Like I still just thought he did a good job kind of controlling down low a bit. Obviously 4-4. I don't remember all of his buckets off the top of my head, but still efficient, and I'm sure is still number 1 offensive rating per KenPom. So a good outing from him. I really don't have much else on him. So We can jump to
the other thing real quick. I did go back to my notes and I remember why that was such a great Cluff series now, because that ball, I don't remember if Jakari like tips it back into him or Jakari just kind of going over, acting like he's going to get the ball, sprinting over, force the Iowa guy to touch it. But when they come back from, I think there was a timeout, and they come back out of that, and Cluff throws that great high-low pass to TK for the easy score right after that. So he has a huge block on the other end. Then when they do get the ball back on the other possession, makes that great pass. So thought that was a great series from Cluff, but yeah, he was huge defensively in the second half.
Yeah, and it's something that Purdue improved on throughout the game, because I do think early, like some of the threes, I know that they're guys that don't usually make them, but like it's still some of the rotations on the backside I just think weren't quite there defensively. But hey, Purdue's able to figure it out. That's a learning moment. You can kind of keep improving and keep working from there. So yeah, let's jump to CJ. I guess we'll just finish out the starters. 9 points, 2 of 4 shooting, 1 of 2 from 3, 1 of 2 from 2, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, a rebound, assist. I said last game that like I thought he really struggled against Dillion, and this was going to be a tough matchup. I thought Cox was really good tonight on starts, like very good. Just this was the best I feel like I've seen him navigate screens, continuing to fights. Like he was in a tough spot too, and I can pull it up here on the board. That like how Iowa starts and runs their offense like naturally is something Purdue struggles with. And so I won't go through I'm not going to go through the full Iowa offense here, but basically just something like this. So balls up top, and then they would start. It's called an Iverson screen. Purdue runs it a ton, where you get an alignment like this, right? 4 across basically, and we're going to call this Sturts this CJ right here. And you just come, there's a screen here and a screen here, and Sturts just kind of curls this tights. And as that's happening, this guy clears out here, so that way he ends up like over here. And CJ had oftentimes him and Braden, Jakari, they had the task of navigating both of these and trying to curl enough so that way Sturts couldn't just grab it and rip, but also like you can't overshoot, because if that happens, that means Sturts is just going to fly back, right, and pull up a 3 or get into the middle of the lane this way. So just that little Iverson cut right there, like it is something that Purdue I think struggled with for large majority, especially as they catch defenses generally out of position, no help, right, because everybody's extended up top. But all that to kind of set up, like I thought CJ was really good defensively tonight, and did what he needed to against Sturts. And again, we talked about it in the pregame. Like Sturts is going to get his. He is too good of a player. He is going to get his. He ends with 19 points. He takes 15 shots and he has 3 turnovers and only 4 assists. Like that's a win for Purdue. This is not a game where Sturts had the stretch down the second half, which was fun. Where he hit a couple tough shots, but it wasn't like one of those games where Sturts just like, there's a scenario where Sturts goes for like 24 points on 11 shots and has 6 assists and 1 turnover. Like that was very much in the cards tonight. And Purdue won probably along the margins of just making him take some tougher shots. I mean, Purdue as a defense only allowed 12 shots at the rim tonight. Getting off track from CJ, but that's just, I think, ties it all back in. Offensively, knocked down the big corner 3, like we've already mentioned. Yeah, my notes are good job on Sturts, really good defensively, basically repeated in different ways.
Yeah, and there was a series there, kind of towards the end when I think Purdue was up 5, where they just kept screening and rescreening Sturts, and he just kept fighting over that screen again and again and again in that series. And I think they forced him into a really late shot clock one where he kind of just doesn't hit anything but the backboard, if I remember right. But I thought he was really, really good defensively, and I just love that there's full confidence in him to not just hit open shots, but to hit shots in big moments. And we've seen it multiple times this year. I did want to pull up this because this kind of fits into what you were saying in terms of what you were drawing on the board. But T Camel 18 says, can someone explain again why the defense didn't look great tonight? Iowa isn't the most athletic team either. One of the things that we talked about in the preview show, well, one, we said you had to make Sturts inefficient. I think Purdue did a really good job of that between Jakari and CJ, and then obviously, who they're kind of forcing them into. But at the same time, this Iowa team, just with what they do we talked about the fact that you have to guard for the entire shot clock. And when they're screening and rescreening sturts, they've got people cutting, and those cuts hurt us multiple times tonight, I thought, where we just didn't, kind of have our head on a swivel, and guy got behind and was able to get the pass and make an easy shot, at the rim. So, but you just, you got to do it so long. And the way Purdue defends, and the fact that they're gonna send help, they're gonna dig a little bit, it makes them open to those cuts. And like, they would defend it for 15 seconds, 20 seconds, and then all of a sudden get burnt on one. So I think that's part of it. Joe, you're on mute.
That's pulled. I had a, Braggs isn't here today, so I had to pull a Braggs on this one. Make sure that I contribute to the jar for our dinner at the Final Four. But just saying, with how Iowa runs their offense with so much off ball movements, like something I have harped on, this Purdue team defensively, they are not good at navigating screens, and they're probably worse at navigating off ball screens. It is just they get behind consistently, and Iowa runs a ton of stuff where they start their actions like that. And then you combine it with like they have, yeah, like all five guys on the floor can always put the ball on the ground and drive. Like even Banks and Manuel, they can do it. Manuel is like, you don't want him taking like 5 dribbles, but like he can take 3 dribbles and get downhill too. So it's like when that high edge happens, if you're living with the pick and pop to these bigs, because like they're not good shooters, they could still catch, get downhill, and kind of cause havoc that way. Or if nothing happens, like Iowa's just so fundamentally sound. It's like nothing's here, flip it back, go. Like I call it like a 0.5 second rule. They have 0.5 seconds, and I didn't make it up. Like I think it's Spurs. But like you have 0.5 seconds to pass, shoot, dribble. Like that's when you catch the ball. And Iowa is a team that very much does that. And so this Purdue defense that's built on being in the correct spots, which often means longer rotations, it's a tough game to consistently have to do that. Like you said, just because there's so much you have to guard at all times. And like if you turn your head as a help side defender for 1 second, you're getting back up. And that happened a couple times tonight too. So really off topic from CJ, but that is my kind of thoughts on the defense.
Well,
And
while we're
there's a couple
finishing
more
this,
smart comments.
oh, I was gonna say, while we're finishing this out about the defense not looking good tonight, I did like this one too, because 12 points went in with fortuitous bounces off the glass or rim. There were so many odd shots that ended up going in tonight. And also, once again, like 7 made threes from 2 guys that you're like, all right, if we're gonna let somebody shoot from outside and try to beat us, let those 2 try to do it. And what'd you say, 7 of 9, 7 of 8 today, something like that from 3 between
Yeah,
those 2. So that can also make your defense look worse than what it is.
yeah, definitely. And like even like Combs went or Banks went. I mean, Banks went 3 of 3. One of them he literally banks in a 30-footer, and then the other two right off the bat, like they were open, but you live with those shots defensively. Like that's something you adjust, right? Because he starts making them. But like coming out, that's the game plan. You live with him shooting, you make him beat you, and he did. Combs drills one, and I think like heavily contested from Jakari. I think maybe even 2 of them were Jakari heavy contest. I remember one in the second half too. It's like so 2 of his 4 were I thought good defense. 2 of them were probably poor defense that he ends up with good shots. So it's just it's all a balance where I don't think Purdue's defense it was definitely not perfect tonight, but yeah, getting some good bounces um, can help make the defense look a little worse than what it is. And if we're talking about defense, I think we got to go next to Jakari. And this is a game where 3 points on 1 of 2 shooting, both of them 3-pointers. He only has 1 rebound. He has 2 steals and a personal foul, which was just the technical in which he kind of came in late, stood up for TKR. But man, what a big second half from him, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. Like he only makes 1 shot, and it was a big time 3 because he answered an Iowa 3 with it. But I mean, just aggressive. The timing on his digs, just yeah, like it was. He was the ball of energy off the bench today. Sometimes that's CJ, right? Sometimes it's even Loyer or just Cluff or Jacobson. Like today, that was Jakari. Just ball of energy, especially defensively, and forced just some big turnovers. You're muted. We're muting when we're
I-
not talking just to try to reduce background noise, so it's probably going to happen at least once more.
Yeah. I know. I know Jakari's had bigger offensive output games, but like I thought this was Jakari's best game of the year, even though he only had 3 points on 1 of 2 shooting from 3, and he's only going to get recorded for 2 steals. But I thought Jakari was just really, really good in this one. And I'm going to talk about Jakari later on, so I'm not going to go any further.
Had to make sure I unmuted. Fair enough. The only other thing I want to call out, and it's been the past 2 games, like, right. So CJ, he starts on Sturts, no surprise. Braden's on Cale Combs. This happened last game too against Penn State. Like when Jakari came in, Braden took the ball handler and Jakari took the off-ball guard, defensively. And I don't know, like if that was just these specific matchups that they liked, if it was like a Braden being like, "Hey, give me a shot on these guys defensively." Like, I don't know exactly what it means, if it means anything, but just kind of wanted to throw it out there that like that is something I've noticed the past 2 games is Jakari, instead of taking the lead ball handler, has been a little bit more off ball, but then today that kind of opens up a couple steals. He still at times got switched onto Sturz, and I thought did a good job in those moments, but just worth calling out to me. So 3 other bench guys. Let's go with Benner because I think he's probably the quickest to talk about in terms of what he did. 6 points and 2 of 6 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, 2 assists, 2 fouls, 17 minutes of play. 2 big threes early on, like gave Purdue some energy.
Big.
What were your thoughts on Benner?
Oh, those 2, 3, like I said, the bench was so important in that first half just to keep Purdue, within striking distance to where the Stars could make an impact in the second half when they got going. But, it's good to see Jack knock a couple down again. He didn't hit one for like 2 games there, like 2 whole games. He didn't make one, I think maybe. So it was good to see him knock a couple down. But the play that really jumped out to me in terms of looking at Jack in the future when he's got a bigger role on this team is he was pretty ball dominant in high school. And he's a really, really good passer. And he attacks a closeout off the wing. And I think rifles a pass to Loyer in the corner it was to Meyer in the corner for a 3. That just shows what he can do at 6'6", that he can put the ball on the floor, and that he does have good vision and good passing too. And I think we'll see more of that next year, him playing more at the 3 spot. But that one really jumped out to me. I thought he was really scrappy, like he always is. So I mean, obviously didn't have the biggest impact on this game, but I thought his impact was good when he was in there. And I told you there was a moment in there where he gets switched onto Sturts, and like he kind of looked a little bit like deer in headlights, and he stops him. Right, Sturts doesn't get by him, and Sturts passes it off. Sturts gets the ball right back, and Benner just kind of looked at him like, "Oh man, again? Like I got to do it again." But he ends up playing just good enough defense to force him into the big and force a really tough shot from Sturts, and Sturts misses. So, but that's who the kid just fights, man. He fights.
Yeah, that's who he is. Southern Indiana boy. Like he's just gonna fight. He's not afraid to be scrappy, and he's gonna shoot the ball. Like he is not afraid to shoot the ball. Despite playing, the second fewest minutes on the team, he still puts up 6 shots, which is right in the middle of the pack in terms of shot distribution. So good energy off the bench, and especially in that first half where he had to play a lot of minutes because the TKR foul trouble, and it's not like Benner held up fine. Like he was fine, and there's a lot to be excited about, especially as you said, once he starts getting into a bigger role. So 2 more players to hit on. You want to hit Jacobson or Meyer? I'll let you kind of pick.
We already kind of highlighted Jacobson when I was talking about the bench, so I don't necessarily have a whole lot more to say about him, other than how many blocks did he end up with tonight?
Only 1, but it felt like more.
Only 1. Yeah, it felt like he affected more shots than that. I thought he was pretty active and pretty mobile in terms of what he was doing at the rim, trying to protect the rim tonight. He wasn't chasing too bad where he kind of gets into foul trouble in those times. Obviously, he's got to just get a little bit more comfortable, just not rush sometimes on some of those offensive rebounds, because it's like he's trying to fire it out of his hand or make his move so fast he gets a little off balance and misses a shot. But hey, he was huge, in that stretch too in the first half where he makes himself a lob threat. He gets to the line one time, goes 1 of 2 from the line. The 9 rebounds, like I said, I haven't pulled up his game logs. I think he had a double-double this year, so it can't be his total. But that's kind of one area that we harp on. Now, this is a game where he doesn't have to fight like a really big physical big, and he can just kind of use his length and his long arms to get those rebounds. But he was key.
No, he was. It was my biggest no. It was just such a better start from him on both sides of the ball compared to last game. Like we harped on him a little bit last game. Like it was a poor game for him, and he came out pretty strong in this one. Gets a cup, the one lob. I mean, I loved it because it was the first time Braden really just was able to drag out the big, and it was one where he was just like TKR was going to come set the screen, and then Braden told TKR, he's like, no, go to the block, Jacobson, you come set me the screen. And without saying it was basically just like, I'm going to come off the screen, I'm going to drag this big out, and you're going to be wide open for a lob. And that is exactly what happened. Quick side note and quick trivia, I guess, sort of. In KenPom, there, when you click on a player profile, there's like the similar, like what player are they most similar to? Can you guess who in the KenPom database Daniel Jacobson is most similar to per KenPom?
Most similar to, is it a Big Ten player?
It's not active. Well, the second
Okay.
one is an active Big Ten player. First one, not used to play in the Big Ten, but not anymore. And I also say it's purely based on like stats and analytics. It's not like play style per se.
I mean, is it Zach?
Matt Arms.
Oh, okay. That kind of
And number
is play
two-
style too. I mean, just terms of being like big, lanky, long, pretty mobile, can shoot from outside a little bit. Like I can see it.
Specifically freshman year, Matt Harms.
Okay.
Pretty similar block rates, pretty similar usages. Just thought it'd be a fun trivia. Second is a Daymara from last year. Last season's a Daymara is the second comparison. So lots to like about Jacobson definitely going forward, and it was good to see him have a bounce back game here. Last player, Omer Meyer, 5 points, 2 of 3 from the floor, 1 of 1 from 3, a rebound, and a foul. And for me, better energy and flow from him once again, I thought. Big time 3 from him in the corner. The passing accuracy needs to improve. Like some of the reads are starting to get there. Just the accuracy themselves needs to start getting better. But aside from that, like Meyer in this game, it wasn't. I didn't have a lot, which I think is a positive for Meyer, because that means he's not standing out because he has defensive lapses. He's not standing out because he's forcing. He's just kind of playing within the game. And we talk about it with CJ and Jakari at times, and I understand he has a little bit different role, but like sometimes having no notes on CJ or Jakari is a good thing, because it's just like, oh yeah, they just did their role, and it's just one of those games where they're not heavily used. And that's kind of what I thought about Meyer today.
Yeah. No, yeah. And the one stat you did leave out, I think, is 0 turnovers, and I think that's always big when it comes to Meyer. I already highlighted a little bit the last game, just about not hitting guys in the shooting pocket, and I do think that's an area somebody said in the comments too where he can improve. But again, taking shots in game flow, not taking them off the bounce unless he gets like a drive by a closeout type of situation where he hits that nice little mid-range today. He hits the corner 3 when he's called on to do so. And we're not seeing those big defensive lapses where we're really calling him out for it anymore. So I thought he was fairly solid all the way around. Like we kind of called the bench out of just like they were met last game, and they were really, really important to this team in the first half. And really more of the negatives in the first half were about some of the star guys who then turned around and had really nice second half. So I do need to get out of here relatively quickly. Can we get to game ball and play of the game? We do got a couple of super chats we do need to highlight. Also,
Let's do game ball and then play
Okay.
of the game, or play of the game ball chats leave.
Okay.
You
do game ball first.
Braden Smith. Very simple. They do not win this game without one Braden Smith. Incredible second half. Since we got to get out of here, I'll just leave it as that.
I'm going Jakari Harris, and I told you it was going to be defensive theme for me, and I thought he was incredible defensively. And same without Braden Smith, we don't win this game. If Jakari doesn't key that big spur of defense and forcing 4 turnovers in 5 possessions with the 2 steals that he creates in back-to-back plays there, coming out of that TV timeout. I don't know that Purdue ever gets in that gear all the way around as a team to win this one.
I think that's a really good call out, and probably the first time he's gotten a game ball this year from one of us. So credit to Jakari. Really impressive game from him, even in a game where he doesn't put up like superstar stats by any means. That does mean you get play of the game first. So you got one lined up?
Yeah, my play of the game is Oscar Cluff coming from out of nowhere for the dunk. And then Jakari. Somebody said Jakari actually got fouled on that play. I thought they called it off of Iowa. Did he got fouled?
I think they called a foul on Koch, who's kind of like shoved Jakari out of the way as they went for the ball.
I totally missed that. I thought it was just out of bounds off of Iowa. So, So I'm gonna go with the Cluff block into the Jakari getting a foul call, and then that leading to that great high-low big-to-big pass from Cluff to TK on the other end. That whole sequence for me from Cluff and Jakari is my play of the game. Plays of the game.
And if we're getting plays, like for me, it's the sequence with like I don't even remember all the exacts, but it was basically where it was that stretch where Purdue forces the 3 straight turnovers. And so the one I'll highlight specifically is like Iowa high pick and roll. This is when Braden's on Sturts, and basically him and TKR combined with that high hedge, force the ball 3. TKR grabs it, drops it off to Smith. Smith sprints, gets an and one with about 10-14 left in the second half, and it was just kind of that whole sequence. It was a huge energy boost. Obviously, the points themselves, it was like I don't think it was an 8-0 run. It might have been an 8-3 run, but just a quick run where I just thought it really ignited. And so I think it all kind of coincides. Starts with the defense today in this one for sure. So I have a couple super chats we should get to and chats in general, but we'll start with the super chats. David Miller, 7792 with another 20. Appreciate all the support from him. Said, I was at Purdue in the late 80s. I would have dreamed of being this good. And throughout the 90s and 2000s, our guys are better than we ever had. I'm with you, Joe. Don't apologize for bragging on Braden. Well, we have to wait to see where the season ends up, but like, even though he played with Zach for 2 years, like Braden will have a chance to be like the greatest Purdue Boilermaker of all time. So I'll just leave that at that for now. We don't have to dive into that. Jason Pugh with a $4.99 said, thanks for the content as always. Everyone hit the like button. If you are still tuned in, 57 minutes in, please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you aren't already. Very easy. They are free, and they do help us out a lot. Also, appreciate everybody just tuning into the chats. That does also help us out a lot, and I'm hoping it's a space where everybody can kind of talk and hang out. I know there were some people hanging out a little bit in here during the game itself, using it as a chat, so appreciate everybody for all the support. Couple regular chats. Jay Young 6560 said we should stop rotating from the shooters and corners, make them hit the more difficult shot. I'm going to pair these together just to save time because they're similar. Olivia S says, is there a time where we won't play defense, live and die by the 3, and why do we choose to do that? I'm not always mad at it, but feels like we always have an opposing player who gets hot from 3. The straight up answer, in my opinion, to kind of both of those is Purdue does not have the defenders to keep the ball in front consistently. And so if that's happening, you have to give up something. And instead of giving up looks at the rim, they're choosing to give up looks from 3. And I think the rotations themselves weren't awesome tonight, which plays into part. They've been better in the previous stretch, but kind of before the last probably 2 games. But it's just built on like Purdue doesn't have the personnel to keep the ball in front. And like Cluff's a good rim protector. Jacobson can be a great rim protector, although he can get handsy and in foul trouble. But like outside of that, it's not like Purdue has a ton of big bodies in the paints. And so instead of just relying on 1 or 2 guys to protect the rim, it's done by committee, done by a team. And that's my thoughts of kind of why that happens. Anthony Lennon says we scored 32 in the last 10-18. Impressive second half scoring. Blake Wimmer said we switched 5 ways tonight. Never seen that so much before. I'll have to go back and watch. I do think part of it was just like more what I would call late switch, where there's the high hedge. It's not intended to be a switch, but then Iowa does a good job dragging things out, so it kind of turns into one. Part of just the high hedge system, like things like that can happen, especially in crunch time when you really do not want to let the ball get downhill and into the paint. Last one, Bonner Boiler Ball with the $9.99 says, thanks to you guys for a great post-game show. thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll be live USC or not live, but we'll have a USC preview out. I assume tomorrow probably. Kraig's going to be on the West Coast pretty soon in LA, so make sure to follow Kraig Bowers34 on Twitter, follow Boilers and Stands on Twitter, follow Boilers and Stands Facebook, Instagram, I think is where else we're at. I believe all those links are in the description as well. So definitely go give Kraig a follow though. He'll have a lot of content. He's putting in a lot of hard work for Boilers in the Stands, carrying pretty much the operation at this point. So appreciate him. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll be live after the USC game. Exact timing TBD, but we will be live in some capacity with at least 2 of us will be on here. We'll figure that out. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Good win for Purdue, and we will see you all after the USC game.